Thank you, Ms. Johnson.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Madam Chair. It's always a treat to come to rules. It's always the interesting part of this business.
Remember, we want you to tell the truth here, Ms.
I
Johnson.
do. I always do, ma'am.
Thank you for being here.
It's a privilege, and thank you all so much for the opportunity. You know, I've just had the privilege of listening to the prior debate, and this rescission package is significant. It addresses many areas. I would like to focus on two. I've offered two amendments for this committee. I'll talk about both of them together in my time just to expedite things. The first is PEPFAR. I have an amendment revoking the rescission of PEPFAR and restoring the $400 million in funding. You know, PEPFAR has saved 26 million lives across the world and has helped ensure 8 million babies are born free of HIV. If you care about babies, if you care about life, if you care about families, you must care about PEPFAR. Ending PEPFAR could result in as many as 11 million new HIV infections in just 6 short years. These programs support nearly 48 million women and couples with modern contraceptive care. This funding will have catastrophic impacts on global health. You know, we in this country have the benefit of amazing research, amazing scientists, because this government has funded NIH and has funded critical healthcare research to eradicate and really minimize the devastating impacts of HIV and AIDS. And this is not a disease that is limited to the LGBTQ community. This disease impacts everyone. If you are sexually active, you are at risk of contracting HIV. We've made such progress. And then to have this government, this Congress, turn its back on the millions and millions of dollars that have been spent to get us to this place where HIV and AIDS is controllable, it's manageable, the risk is minimizing, it would be devastating, and that is the wasteful part of this, to turn the back on the progress that we've made when we're so close to coming. So that's my first amendment, would be to restore PEPFAR funding. My second amendment addresses the Corporation of Public Broadcasting and restoring the $1.1 billion stripped from PBS and NPR. You know, we've had debate here today about whether or not PBS, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, is woke. I've heard these comments that it's gotten too progressive in its commentary. So now what's happening is we have no public space. Public broadcasting and the public media is the place for arts. It's the place for non-profitable things to happen. Sometimes we need the Chopin Piano Concerto played. Sometimes we need Masterpiece Theater. We need to spark the creativity. Music and art transcends culture, it transcends language, it transcends race, it transcends generation. It is the soul of our humanity. And the fact that we are taking this away from everyone is irresponsible on the cultural institutions of this country and what communications has founded. You know, we've had, when you're in rural Texas, sometimes the NPR station or the local PBS station is the only radio station out there. It's the only thing that gives commonality, that reaches us to keep people from being isolated. You have states, in my state, we could travel through many of yours before we even get to the one end of the others of mine. And we rely on PBS. We rely on the Corporation of Public Broadcasting to bring generations of programs for our children and for our own humanity. It's a travesty to the cultural progress that this country's made. It's a travesty to our history. It's a tragedy to the children of the future to not have access to PBS Kids, to PBS and the wonderful characters that have been developed over the history. So I would implore you all to please restore the funding of these two critical programs. It is very vital to the health of our nation, to our role in the world, and it is my strong desire that we see them go forward in a productive and positive way. And with that, I yield back.
Thank you very much, Ms. Johnson. Ms. Scanlon, do you have any questions?
No, I
Comments?
just thank the member for her testimony, fully support both amendments, and hope they move forward.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Scanlon. Mr. Norman, no. Ms. Leisure Fernandez.
Just a few points that I wanted to ask about because, I really enjoyed the testimony from Representative Griffin and what's happening in Virginia. And he made a point that Sesame Street is going to be on HBO and Netflix, right? Sounds like Sesame Street might be all right. But one of the points I think is important and why your amendment is key is that working families, they can't afford the $20, the $30, whatever that monthly fee is. Because aren't I correct that Sesame Street is free right now on PBS? You can get it over your TV with an antenna. That can cost you $5 and you never have to pay anything else. Now, PBS is available to 97% of U.S. TV households at no cost, commercial-free, compared to what you'd have to pay. And you know what the key thing is, because even though you represent that big, beautiful city of Dallas, you know Texas, don't you? Because you served in the state legislature. So what do you think about the concept of saying it's all right to make families have to pay when they might not have that money?
Well, the thing is that Sesame Street is, I grew up on Sesame Street. I bet you most folks in this building grew up on Sesame Street, learning how to read, learning to find our favorite characters, learning how to find our way in the world, how to treat our neighbors, how to do so many things to learn how to be good human beings that Sesame Street offers. And it's obviously effective by the fact that it has stood the generations and the decades of time. We have had an election because people can't afford their life. The Republicans campaigned effectively on they're going to lower costs of living for people. But that has not happened. And this is not achieving that campaign promise. In fact, when you are now going to force people to choose between great quality educational content for their kids, or that healthy snack they need in the afternoon, or that new pair of sneakers that are worn out because their feet grew too big, too fast, or whatever the case may be, families are struggling. And there's one thing that we've heard throughout this Congress, in each one of our districts, is that the American people are having a hard time. The cost of living is far outpacing the wages. The cost of goods are going up exponentially. The tariffs are making prices increase. They're not bringing them down. And people are scared, and they're nervous, and they're frustrated. And now what we're doing is to tell that working mom that's got 3 jobs, that's trying to make ends meet, that now, no, you can't have that moment of break and park your kid in front of Sesame Street, a great program that you can feel comfortable to know will help your kid when you go fix dinner because you're exhausted. And now we're taking away that lifeline for so many families across this country at such a nominal amount of our overall budget for what it provides for our young people and their minds and their future is irresponsible to me in this legislation.
Thank you. And I think that's really important that this is costing American working families more money when they say we're going to cut the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and
That's right.
education funding. That's basically it. And then the other thing is I really want to thank you for highlighting PEPFAR, because the other thing that it provides stability across this planet, and it's talking about the babies. I mean, we need to talk about the babies more in this committee, and so thank you very much for talking about that and the stability and the fact that it also, when you have stability across the country, you don't have as much migration, and you don't have as much immigration on the country. And I know we need to move forward,
There's no reason a child in this world
but
should be
yeah.
born with HIV.
Yeah.
And it is preventable, and we are going to make it to where millions of children are going to have this disease unnecessarily, and it is at the foot of this Congress.
Thank you very much, and with that, I yield back, Madam Chair.